If the original version of World of Warcraft is known as vanilla, what flavor is Battle for Azeroth? Rocky Road.
Wow.
Let's move away from lies and fears.
Perhaps it's time to leave.
Free from how you look or what they say. Like a lion runs wild through the wilderness. Free from showing off a living fate. Like the eagles flying high, dancing with the air. There's breath in your lungs to breathe. Say, God, take this mask away. You see, he won't let you stay. Living in hollow days.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of ShatterCast. I hope you enjoyed that corny joke. None of them did, and so I hope you did. Today we're talking about World of Warcraft. If you couldn't tell, so my friend Angel is with us. First time guest, Angel. Hi.
Hello.
Welcome.
Angel.
Welcome.
Everyone say hello to Angel.
Hi, Angel.
Hello.
Why don't you just say your name? You don't need to say your name because I already said it. How long did you play World of Warcraft?
I've been playing since the beginning. It started. I think it released on November 2004, and I've been playing around that time, 2005, on and off. It's been a very hectic relationship. but yeah.
Do tell.
Well, and we also got Joel.
Hello,
We
everybody.
played a little bit of World of Warcraft as well, and we got Derrick. How long did you play?
I came in right at the end of Classic, and I've played every expansion since.
Wow.
I tend to drop in and out, so yeah.
Like Angel, I've been playing World of Warcraft since vanilla. 2004, jumped in right away. My brother did like closed beta stuff, and it was so cool.
Nice.
Like, I totally didn't watch over his shoulder because it was a closed beta, but if I did, I would have been really excited for World of Warcraft.
If you did.
That's
I don't know
pretty cool.
how long NDAs are legally enforceable.
From like 15 years ago.
Right. I don't know.
Blizzard, cover your
I don't
nose.
know. But yeah, so I picked it up right away. I actually did not play Battle for Azeroth. I stopped playing right before it came out, and I just got busy and also poor.
I mean, that's a good excuse.
It was like,
Great
do I
excuse.
want to spend $15 a month for a game that I'm only kind of interested in? But
And we will talk more about that.
we will, because today we are going to debate Battle for Azeroth, or rather just the current state of the game in general,
Current state.
and Vanilla WoW. So the original release. If you're not familiar with Vanilla WoW, what that means is the original version of the game before anything was done to it, before there was an expansion, before there were any title updates, just the original game that released at the end of 2004. So personally, I'm extremely excited that Vanilla WoW is re-releasing officially, because I definitely never played any of the other unofficial vanilla servers.
Blizzard,
Okay.
close your eyes.
Close your eyes. Close your eyes. It's an audio podcast. You said the wrong thing. But yeah, so I'm really excited to see this more official route. Blizzard said was like a year and a half ago that they were going to do these official classic servers. We've been waiting, and then earlier in the year they said summer 2019, and that was exciting. And now we have a date, August 27th. So I'm personally very excited. I know this guy's really
I'm super
excited.
excited.
And you're kind of
It's interesting. We live in an interesting time because now we're gonna have WoW Classic versus WoW Current
Retail,
BFA
yeah.
Battle for Azeroth. So it's one of the reasons we wanted to do this versus battle, see what might win out. So
yeah. So why don't you start as probably the biggest voice of dissension, even if you are 50-50. Well, just play that side of the table. Play the no.
Yeah, we're on this side table.
WoW Classic had a lot of great points to it, and that side of the table we'll get to it.
Oh yeah.
BFA currently has some cool stuff to it. It's got a lot of quality of life things. When you play WoW Classic, it's very hard to survive even one mob. You know, one guy can kill you. So you have to be careful. There's positives and negatives with that. Here, you can feel like a hero with modern WoW. There's a lot of cool things that you could do. You can tank a bunch of things. You can take on 3 or 4 different people at the time. So some people say that's too easy, and every now and again that is true. Also with modern WoW, they've done a lot of things with storytelling as far as phasing technology. So you can go into one area, and to tell a story, they will change the area for you personally. And so in-game cutscenes, so a lot of that stuff, they've gotten really well, or done really well with storytelling. So I think that's one of the good things about current. We'll talk about some of the bad things later, but what do you guys think?
Sure. Well, I'd say some of the best things about vanilla WoW for me, you know, when WoW came out, like I played EverQuest even before I played World of Warcraft. And a lot of people, when WoW came out, they said it was EverQuest Lite, that it was an easier, more simplified version of EverQuest, which I mostly agree with for the most part. Whereas the current state of WoW feels like WoW Lite. You know, it's like
It's kind of true.
they've made things a lot easier. They've made progression a lot easier, which is fine, because I think what they're trying to do is open up the game to a wider audience, people who aren't hardcore gamers. They want to have a game that meets their needs and their desires, which is fine. Like, if you're a game developer, you want to make money, right? Because that's how games exist. Like, we want Blizzard to be financially successful, or we don't have WoW at all. And so, but I think that might be too fair of a point of view, and I don't think the internet likes fair. Everyone's like, oh, it's just a cash grab. I'm like, they're a for-profit business. Everything they do is a cash grab, because it has to be.
They have to stay open.
Exactly, they have to. But that being said, I liked the difficulty of vanilla WoW. I liked, you know, you're in an instance, you know, maybe like you're doing like the original Dead Mines quest, and someone other than the tank or a hunter using a bow like pulls a mob, and because they're not one of those two roles, they're not really paying attention, and they pull like an extra mob, and you're only fighting like 3 guys, but your party of 5 is like, oh god, we're gonna die.
We're about to die.
Yeah. whereas nowadays, like I'll be running through an instance, and we'll just like we'll grab like this pack and this pack and this pack, and we're like fighting 12 guys.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it makes you feel like more of a hero.
Yeah.
But it takes away to me, a lot of the sense, to borrow a phrase from EA, a sense of pride and accomplishment. I get that out of the struggle to get there, instead of it just feeling like, well, we can't die.
Yeah, to that point in modern day WoW, there are literally dungeons you can complete all by yourself.
Yeah.
And that's like legit strategy to do sometimes. So,
Yeah. Well, it takes away, and we talked about this before the podcast even, that one of the things that I love about World of Warcraft, and I loved playing back in the day, was you could grind and level up like on your own, but it was exceedingly difficult, and it was better to play with other people. And so it built community. Whereas now they've balanced the game in such a way that no matter what class you are, you can basically go from level 1 to whatever the level cap is, like 120 or something, or
130.
Is it 130?
120, 130, I don't know.
Somewhere. It's like,
We'll double check that.
yeah.
Someone's right now. It'll not real WoW fans.
It's up on the screen right
I think
now.
it's
I'm sure.
120. And,
Yeah. Does it say on Battle for Azeroth? The
I
little
didn't
box
pay
we have
attention
here?
to this expansion.
I will look it up. I'll look it up.
It does. Yep. Nope. Oh, instant level 110 character boost. So I'm
So it's
guessing
120.
120. There we go. We figured that one out on
Stop
camera.
messaging us.
But yeah, so I think in doing that, in making the game easier to play on your own, it's made it more difficult to build community, because more people can have an individual experience, which is fine. But like when WoW Classic comes out in August, Angel, you asked me if I was going to play Horde or Alliance. I'm afraid to say it on camera, because I feel like I'm going to get attacked no matter
Send
what.
all your hate mail to John.
But my answer was, I'm going to play whatever my friends want to play, because I want to play this with other people. I was a dirty Alliance main, because when I was a kid, I thought they had to be the good guys because the Horde were full of monsters. Yeah. And then once I understood the lore, I was like, oh, I don't know if the Horde's really bad after all.
Welcome to BFA. That's one of the issues. We'll get to that.
What about you, Angel?
So for me, World of Warcraft is a special game. I mean, I think that's what has lost throughout the years. You're talking about a game that it's this genre is MMO, and I feel the MMO has been completely lost during the years. There's certain aspects like instant matchmaking, LFR, instant queues, that just get rid of the community all by itself. The servers are not engaging anymore. Nobody talks to each other anymore. And I think that's one of the falls of an MMO. It should be hard, and there should be less automation for a reason, because it's all about community based. It's all about, developing these social connections. There's a hard quest for a reason. I mean, yeah, it'd be cool if you can solo it, but at the same time, it'd be kind of cool if you can, you need to get like 2 or 3 people to help you out maybe engage in some conversation. They're not gonna bite. They also need to do this quest. I mean, there's a sense of bonding there. You might make a friend out of it. I know I've made a few friends. I actually, one of them had a wedding a few months ago, and he invited me and everything. We've known each other since Cataclysm, and I met him through the game, and we were on a Discord channels and all that, and he was like, "Oh, hey man," and we started talking. We started grouping up all the time, and I mean, I created a lot of long-lasting friendships because of that. I am pro old classic vanilla WoW. I like it. I like the difficulty of it. I think nowadays games have been mushed into this genre of everything needs to be instant gratification. Everything you need to get rewards. Oh, a loot box. Oh, this. Oh, you haven't gotten an epic in the last 5 seconds. Something's wrong with this game. And I mean, and you guys laugh, and it's because this is true.
Yep.
This is what's happening. It's that implementing of, oh yes, I feel good. I just got something. And back in the day, I remember having a blue, having a rare.
It was a big deal.
Yeah, especially leveling up. Yeah, it was amazing. And if you had an epic, it was like, oh man.
Like if you went to the auction house, you might see like 1 or 2 like orange rarity items, and it was like, and they would cost 800 gold. Which even if you were at the level cap, it was like, man, that's a lot of gold. Whereas nowadays, it's like nothing. It's nothing. It's like tens of thousands of gold, and I don't know.
I mean, for me, that's where it has lost it. And I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited for the classic to come out, to release in August, and we'll see. I'm hoping a lot of people will take heart of it. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it, and you guys have seen online on Twitch and streaming. People have been streaming on it.
Yeah.
Right now, the beta is at level 40 cap. So I mean, it's very interesting seeing all generations of WoW players coming back, and then mixing with this new generation of people who play other games like Fortnite, who play all these battle royale games. MOBA games, League of Legends, all that. And they're playing actually WoW just to try it out because we haven't been able to shut up about it for 15 years.
Right.
So everybody's like, so what's the big deal? And it's funny how everybody's like, and there's a lot of videos on YouTube going, oh, you know what, guys? I've been wrong. I was wrong about this game. I was anti-vanilla WoW, but now I'm sucked into it.
Yep.
And I mean, there's a reason why everybody fell in love with this game.
Yeah.
And it's because of the simplicity of it and also the level of difficulty to it.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point.
Yeah, because I feel like it's almost like less is more. Because when like you have so much of this stuff, it's like me as someone who does not play too much of WoW, to dive in at this point and to try to figure out what the heck is going on when there's like a bazillion spells, bazillion things going on. It's like I don't even know where to even start. So this
You guys are making me want to like go home and renew my subscription. Right after we're done recording. Like I'm trying to hold out until August and just get my sub like renewed then. But I'm just like, I really want to play now.
You're welcome, Blizzard.
You're welcome. Yeah, man. I mean, but it's so cool because, like you said, like what we've lost over, I think, the course of all new games, it seems like that the community bond that I at least have not really felt that in like a long time, and that could just be like my friend base or my whatever. But I don't know. So to have a game like this where you need friends to win, then that's what it's all about. And plus, like it's not as confusing when you don't have to worry about trying to like max every single race or class, and you're figuring out what like race should I be, because he's with this, like obviously there's still a bunch of that, but at least you're not being bombarded with like so many different types of classes. And then one like peeve of mine, and I'm not super opposed to it, but to when like you can buy your way to like almost the max level, and like it does make you lose that sense of pride, because you feel like you pretty much just sold your soul in a sense. You're just like, I'm just gonna buy this out, and then you get all this cool stuff, and you're like, what the heck do I even do with all this? Like, you're like, I have all this stuff, but I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I'm just clicking on the stat tree, just figuring stuff.
There was only one time that I ever did the free like level jump when a new expansion came out. Was it Legion? Which one introduced the blood? The
Blood Elves?
No.
The curse?
The
blood of Draenor?
Oh no, man! Is it? I am just totally failing right now.
Oh no!
Use your words. I don't know what you're saying.
That Gabe knows.
That
Gabe know?
game?
No, it wasn't Blood Elves. No, it's a class. The
The Blood Knight.
Yeah, Blood Knight.
Lich King.
So okay, Blood Knight.
Death Knight.
The Death Knight.
There you go.
Knight.
See, that's why I wasn't sold on the word blood, because I was like,
Yeah.
I think only blood elves have blood in them, and it's not that. But they have a lot of blood magic they use, which is why I was thinking blood.
That's one of
And
their.
they also have blood.
yeah.
in-
That was one
inside
of the
veins.
talents,
So
right? The specializations.
That's
blood.
one of their talents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
blood.
And so that's where my mind was on their ability tree. So
The Bloody Knight.
when the Death
We
Knight,
almost lost all of our credit there.
I know I've been playing.
we play well, I promise.
When you play for 15 years, things get mushed. So anyway, the Death Knight, when it came out, I think you couldn't actually play that at level 1. Like you started at level 65 or something, because that's when their story picked up. So you couldn't actually play that character at level 1.
Might have been 55, but keep going.
Something like that. Yeah, it was up there. And I remember just getting thrown into it at that level, and even being forced with that class to do so.
Because it was a hero class. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you had
remember
like
that.
this massive UI of skills, like you were saying. Like if you were to just jump in as a mage and you've never played a mage at with Battle for Azeroth, and you're immediately level 110, you don't have the experience to know like which of
Just
these
blasted
skills,
everything off
which of
your-
these are good, which ones of these suck, because there's still bad skills in the game. You don't learn your rotations, and so unless you're like basically studying the wiki for forever, you're going to struggle, and there's just like this steep learning curve that you forced on yourself. And that's why I even though you get a free one when the expansion comes out, I never use it
With
because
gear.
I want to learn the
gear.
character.
You get a new character with gear, which is kind of I get a little bit like because some people work hard
Yeah.
for their gear, and
I
then this
grind every
boosted
character.
guy
Yeah,
just
every
gets decent gear, and you're like, okay.
There's positive and negatives to everything, which we're going to talk about. To that point, real fast. When you boost a character, you can do a class trial. So before
That's
you
true.
actually say, yes, I want to commit to this, you do a class trial.
That's nice.
They'll walk you through it. They'll give you a couple skills at a time, so you get
Okay.
used to it. So we're talking about the good and bad of Modern WoW and stuff like that. The good about Modern WoW is that they've thought through some of that stuff. Hey, we have a new character who's coming in. Let's do a class trial. Hey, this guy has the expansion. He just bought it. His friends are already at that level. How can we get him to join his friends? So that's why they give you 1 level boost, you know, stuff like that. So I think they've thought through some of those things over the years, and so some of those
trying
things
really
have helped. To that point, though, I'm not here to defend Modern WoW because a classic WoW, again, and we were sharing a little bit earlier, I feel Classic WoW did a better job at making each class feel individualized.
rock, paper, scissors system.
Right
Yeah.
now, in the current state of WoW, there's a bunch of classes just feel the same, and so, and there are a lot of people who are unhappy about current state of WoW because like the lore's crazy, like the current storyline. Why did the Horde? Why are they coming off so evil? Things like that. And they're doing some things now. They're about to release a patch to correct some of that stuff, storyline stuff, and some other issues that we don't have time to get into. So I think both have positives and negatives. And so, yeah, we want to be fair on both sides.
That's fair. And I think one of the reasons I'm most excited for Vanilla WoW is in 2010 when Cataclysm was released, I remember seeing the promo for the first time, that dragon swooping over the world. And then just like the wind from its wings just wrecking cities, and Stormwind getting just the crap blown out of it. And then Westfall is like completely changed. And I remember seeing that promo and it was blowing my mind. And I was like, they're literally breaking the world. This is so cool. And I was so excited for it. And it has been cool. And they were great changes to make because the game had been the same visually for 6 years at that point. But 9 years later, I now miss the way that the game was 15 years ago. Like if I go to Westfall, totally different quest lines. I don't have any of the same experiences that I had. Even regardless of end game raid progression, they're just the leveling looks a lot different because the zones physically look a lot different. And so some of that I'm excited to see. And so that's where I think for me a lot of nostalgia comes from, is the visual experiences, the quest lines and the storylines that made up the leveling process are just gone. And they've been gone since 2010. And so for me, there's a lot of nostalgia wrapped up in this. And I think that's true for a lot of people. But, you know, there's always that question, like, will it hold up? Is it going to be as good as our nostalgia remembers it to be? Or are we going to go back to it and be like, ooh. See, I'm hoping that all of our cries for a vanilla server really pay off. I'm hoping that it's as great as I remember and I get sucked in for another 15 years and My wife might have something to say about that, but I wasn't married when it came out, so
We're gonna be offering free counseling to John after this.
I'm trying to when Vanilla WoW comes out, I'm hoping to get her an account too, and we'll play together. She plays the Lego games with me. Maybe I can get her to play.
Perhaps.
World of
Or you may
Warcraft.
just have to sleep here for now at the studio. It'll be
We have
one
a
of the
couch.
other.
We have a couch I can sleep on.
To that point, the
yeah.
nostalgia, I think it's
Nostalgia.
a good transition to our faith point because we want to talk about, again, we have modern WoW versus classic WoW. And we're talking about how classic WoW brings up a lot of great things. You guys brought up some great points, like the need to actually play with people in the MMO, like craziness. To the other side, though, can we possibly be remembering things wrong? To just my hesitation to some people who are super excited about classic WoW, and please be, it's great. Playing classic WoW, you took a long time to level up.
Yeah.
It was very easy for you to die. It took a lot of time. To Joel's point, modern, like I have a full-time job now. Like I don't have time to devote as much time into WoW. And so I think go into it because it's the new thing. A lot of us like, yeah, let's try it. And hey, keep that excitement. But I think it's just a caution as well. Hey, am I really remembering the past as it really is? And I think our faith point today is when we're taking a look back at our life, sometimes we're super excited about maybe some places we got to go to, or maybe some things we did when we were younger. But when we actually sit down and process it, hey, maybe some of those times include some hard times that we're forgetting about. And the opposite is true as well. Maybe we're just remembering all the bad things in our past, and we're forgetting how God did some great things. So our faith point today is, hey, has nostalgia ever gotten in the way of you enjoying life today? Has the past ever gotten in the way of the future? What do you guys think about that idea that sometimes we either think too negatively about our past, or we might think so positively about our past that we're dissatisfied with where our life is today? What do you guys think?
Yeah, well, in Ecclesiastes, which is like the most biblical sounding book of the Bible, I think when you think of the Bible and you think of old words, like that's one of the ones. Like when you say Ecclesiastes,
There you go.
I just immediately feel 65 years old. So in Ecclesiastes chapter 7 in verse 8, it says, "The end of a matter is better than its beginning. Patience of spirit is better than haughtiness of spirit. Do not be eager in your heart to be angry, for anger resides in the chest of fools." And then in verse 10, "Do not say, why is it that the former days were better than these? For it is not from wisdom that you ask this." Why was it better back then? That's not a wise question. And for me, I'm excited about Vanilla WoW, but I think that reading verses like that, and just so you know, in context, it is actually about World of Warcraft now.
Some Bible scholars just clicked off. We're done.
Reading that, I don't.
Solomon's playing WoW. We all know that. Max
Max level right there. Yep. So I think
Does Jesus use a character boost? I'm sorry. Keep going.
redeem us. You redeem us all at max level. Okay, we'll stop now.
What's up? Keep going.
You see what I have to put up? No. So I think, well, whatever I was trying to say, Solomon, what he's talking about there is that nostalgia isn't bad, but it can lead to a bad place. If we're nostalgic about something, great, we had a wonderful time. We should remember the wonderful time we had, but we shouldn't use that as an excuse to be bitter about where we are now. So I think, Derrick's kind of 50-50 is I think that's the most Solomon approved way. Like if he gave his seal of approval, it would be on kind of what you've been saying.
Solomon seal approval.
That it's important to be able to recognize that something was a good experience, but not let that embitter you to whatever your current experience is. Like current WoW has a lot of pros.
Yeah.
So does vanilla WoW. They can. It has a few.
I'm trying.
It has
man.
a few pros. It has a few good things for it. And vanilla WoW, yes, I enjoyed it a lot more, but I don't dislike Battle for Azeroth because of how much I love vanilla. I dislike it because it's not what I'm looking for in a game these days. Whereas that is what I'm looking for. Hulk smash. That is what I'm looking for, and so I'm excited to have it back.
So for me, and I just want to pitch in here real quick.
Please.
Nostalgia is a good thing and a bad thing. Also, hype is a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's also nice to be excited about something, but most of our memories, they are very hugely affected by our feelings. Our emotions get in the way. So something that may have not been super bad because we lived and we thought it was the worst thing that has happened to us in that moment, then for us, in our minds, that was completely super bad feeling.
Yeah.
But if we go back and confront it, we're like, oh, that wasn't actually that bad at all. I mean, I don't know if you guys have had those like, oh, I remember, I don't know, in this, what is it, the diving board.
Oh,
And it was so high up. And then when you go back as an adult, you're like,
It's like
oh,
2 feet off the
yeah.
floor.
It was like, wait, was that it? Was that it? So I mean, it's the same way, especially with happy feelings. Sometimes we overhype and over put, these rose tinted glasses. And I mean, if we go back and looking at it in a realistic expectations and going back and openly, seeing the game and as well in life in general, with nostalgia, it can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. We always should be willing to agree with change. Change is always good. And also, but at the same time, if there's been some mistakes in the past, nostalgia may help us correct those changes in the future. Because I believe the genre in itself and World of Warcraft has gone through taking a wrong turn. And I think WoW Classic will let people know, especially developers and the community, to connect further. Because nowadays, developers will go in any game, oh, you don't want that. This is what you want. This is what you want. And people are like, no, but I don't like it. No. It's okay. Look.
Yep.
So
We've been fighting for vanilla for like 7 years. Like people have been crying for it and like crying out, not weeping. And Blizzard.
Some people have been weeping.
Blizzard has been saying time and time and time again, it's impossible. We don't have the original code. It cannot be done.
I remember that.
And then the unofficial servers got really popular, and then Blizzard was like,
Blizzard found their code.
We can actually totally do that. Give us like a year and we got you. And so I hope that what you're saying is going to come true, that like they're going to realize that the gaming community might actually know what they want sometimes.
Exactly.
And it's a conversation, right? The devs want to make money. And it's easier to make money when you actually know what people want instead of trying to guess.
Well, I think just being back to like the faith point, like the past and stuff like that, I obviously I can repeat a bunch of points that you guys said, but I think the verse that comes to mind is like, it's in Romans, I believe, where it says, behold, like all old things have passed away and behold, the new is here. And it also talks about not pouring in, Lord, help us. And it's also when Jesus talked about the new wineskins, and like you can't put the new wine into the old into the old wineskin or else it snaps. So there's a part in our faith walk where we have to, as Kylo Ren says, to let the past die, and then to move into what God plans for us, because we can learn.
Is that what he said?
Maybe not the second part. That's what he said.
I was a doze off our theater at that
Kylo
point.
Ren
Finish
was-
what you started. Okay, no, because the thing is that so many, like, and it says in the word that we are all born into sin.
Yeah.
So we are born not on the winning side. We have to make a choice, and then when we make that choice, then the best way to see the most fruit in your life, or at least what I've seen in my life, is to dive headfirst into it. And there's times when we hold on to things we learned in the past about things about the Word of God that may not be true, or about science, things that we exalt above God because they're what we know and they're so familiar. But as cool as that may sound, then you actually put a stumbling block in your path, because then when God wants to pour in something new, then you still have that old wineskin and it just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
You go, well, this was the way that I was raised, or this was the way that mom said or dad said, and it may be really good advice, but if it does not align with the Word of God, it says it's pretty clear that that's the only truth that will pass into the next life. Pretty much everything else is going to pass away, and no one will even know about any of this stuff.
I'm really hoping that they have like internet cafes You know,
Up in heaven.
Where
Some
you going with
Wi-Fi
that?
here. I don't know.
yeah, you know,
5 like G over there. You know, it's a grace.
7G,
7. Oh,
Ooh.
7 G.
7 times 7G.
Anyway, well, that is my point. The point is that in the old, like especially in the Psalms, and it talks about that we should remember the days of old to kind of look at how the Lord has moved, but we should never get locked into that because even more times than it says to have the past be washed away and raise up into new life. So
I like all that. I think I like what Angel said about nostalgia can sometimes also be the flip side of hype. And I think sometimes we can remember the past, again, too bad or too good. And the same thing about the future. We can think too much either way about it. And as you were saying, Joel, in Joshua, God tells Joshua to build an altar of remembrance so you can remember all that the Lord has done for you. And sometimes in our life, we need to stop and remember what God has done. But then in Isaiah, we were talking about that earlier, God says, hey, forget that old stuff. I'm doing some new stuff. And so it's this balance of, hey, remember the good stuff that God has done, but don't get locked into that because God wants to do some new things in a new way. I think it's the same with all of life. Hey, take an honest look at the past, at the present, at the future, but always have hope that God can use all that for good.
That's great. One of the last things that I want to say in Judges 15, 15, Samson, he's been captured, brought before 1,000 Philistines, and he picks up a jawbone and slays 1,000 of them. And the thing that really gets me, I know, right?
That was a rare jawbone. It was a rare jawbone.
Well, okay, that's perfect. It was a rare jawbone.
It was a rare jawbone.
But
the ultimate warrior.
The most
true.
powerful part of that story to me is as soon as he's done, he just tosses it aside and moves on. He doesn't hold on to the jawbone that was strong enough to kill a jawbone of a donkey, strong enough to kill 1,000 people with it. And then he didn't patent it. He didn't try and sell it to other churches. He didn't say, hey, this one jawbone that your Philistines will hate. They hate this one simple secret. Like he doesn't try and market the jawbone. He just tosses it aside. He lets it go. And so there are things that God will bless. There are good things that will end. And that's okay. And it doesn't mean that they weren't good, doesn't mean that they weren't blessed, but it just means that sometimes good things end, and that can still be a good thing.
That's cool.
The finale of Star Trek: The Next Generation, all good things, part 1 and 2, must come to an end.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you guys for coming. Angel, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
We love you guys. And you.
And you.
Which cameras are we pointing to?
What? Camera A or B? What's going on here?
Have
Camera C.
a good week. Farewell.
Farewell.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
The original version of World of Warcraft is called Vanilla. What flavor is Battle for Azeroth? Cool. That's a hard one to stop.
What can I give us a punch?